The stained coat. I never thought a coat could ruin my life. But that morning, standing in the elevator with coffee dripping down my sleeve, I was ready to destroy someone's career over it. The woman beside me didn't even look up. She just kept staring at the floor, her cleaning cart wedged between us, smelling faintly of bleach and something floral I couldn't place. Lavender, maybe. Or jasmine. I wanted to scream. I wanted her to apologize, to grovel, to understand what she'd just done. Instead, she whispered, "I'm sorry," so quietly, I almost missed it. And I thought, sorry isn't going to fix this. Sorry isn't going to save my presentation. Sorry isn't going to replace $1,200 of ruined cashmere. I had no idea how wrong I was. I had no idea that this moment, this stupid, infuriating moment, would become the most important one of my life. I had no idea that the woman standing next to me, trembling and apologizing, would teach me more about being human than anyone ever had. If you're new here, please subscribe. This channel is just getting started, and every day we're sharing stories like this. Stories that remind us there's more beneath the surface than we ever imagine. Stories about people who surprise us, who challenge us, who change us when we least expect it. Stories that prove kindness still exists, even in the hardest moments. My name is Laura, and until that morning, I thought I had everything figured out. I was 32, a senior account manager at a marketing firm in Manhattan, and I wore my ambition like armor. My apartment overlooked the Hudson. My closet was full of designer labels. My calendar was color-coded down to the minute. I had a routine, a plan, a trajectory. I knew exactly where I was going and how to get there. I didn't have time for mistakes, mine or anyone else's. That Tuesday started like any other. I woke at 5:30, ran 4 miles along the river while the sky was still gray and the city was quiet. The air was cold, sharp, clearing my head for the day ahead. I showered, put on my favorite coat, cream-colored cashmere, tailored, expensive, and stared at myself in the mirror. I looked successful. I looked like someone who had it all together. I'd saved for 3 months to buy that coat. It made me feel powerful, untouchable, like nothing could touch me as long as I wore it. I grabbed my coffee from the corner deli, extra hot, no lid because I hated the plastic taste, and rushed into my building's lobby at 7:45. The marble floors gleamed under the fluorescent lights. The air smelled like cleaning solution and expensive perfume. I nodded at the doorman without really seeing him. I was already in my head, already planning my day. I had a pitch at 9, a lunch meeting at noon, client calls stacked back to back until 6. This was the day that could make or break my year. The elevator doors opened. I stepped in, phone in one hand, coffee in the other, already rehearsing the pitch I had to deliver in an hour. Then she rolled her cart in behind me. I didn't look at her. I was reading an email from my boss, something about client expectations and quarterly goals. The elevator lurched as it started to climb, and my coffee sloshed. Not much, just a few drops on my hand. I adjusted my grip, annoyed, and that's when it happened. The cart shifted. Metal scraped against metal. The woman gasped, reached out to steady it, and her elbow, just barely, knocked my arm. The coffee didn't spill. It erupted. Hot liquid splashed across my coat, my blouse, my skirt. I felt it soak through to my skin, burning. For a second, I couldn't even process what had happened. Then the pain hit, then the shock, then the anger. I shouted something, I don't even remember what, and spun around. She was older, maybe 60, with gray hair pulled into a tight bun and deep lines around her eyes. Her uniform was faded blue, worn at the edges, her name tag crooked. Maria. She stared at the brown stain spreading across my coat like she'd just witnessed a murder. Her face went white. Her hands started shaking. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean—" "You didn't mean to?" I snapped. "Do you have any idea what this coat cost?" Her face went even paler. She grabbed a rag from her cart, started dabbing at the stain, but I yanked away. "Don't touch it. You've done enough." The elevator dinged. 10th floor. My floor. I stormed out without looking back, my heart pounding, my hands shaking. I could hear her apologizing behind me, but I didn't care. I had a meeting in 45 minutes, and I looked like I'd been attacked. I looked like someone who couldn't even make it to the office without falling apart. I spent the next 20 minutes in the bathroom, scrubbing at the stain with paper towels and hand soap. It didn't help. The coffee had set in, dark and ugly against the pale fabric. I tried to calm down, to think rationally, but all I could feel was rage. This wasn't just about the coat. It was about everything. The presentation I'd been preparing for weeks, the promotion I was gunning for, the image I'd worked so hard to build. And now, because of some careless cleaning lady, I looked like a mess. I stared at myself in the mirror. My makeup was smudged. My hair was coming loose. The stain covered half my coat. I looked defeated. I looked like someone who couldn't handle pressure. And in my world, that was death. I called my assistant. "Cancel my 9 o'clock," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I need to go home and change." "Laura, you can't cancel. Mr. Peterson flew in from Boston just for this." I closed my eyes. Mr. Peterson, the client I'd been courting for 6 months, the one who could make or break my year. He was difficult, demanding, but worth millions in potential revenue. If I missed this meeting, someone else would swoop in. I could already see Jennifer's smug face as she took credit for my work. "Fine," I said. "I'll be there." I threw on my backup blazer, the one I kept in my office for emergencies, and tried to cover the stain. It didn't work. The coffee had bled through everything. I looked rumpled, unprofessional, defeated. By the time I walked into the conference room, I was 15 minutes late. Mr. Peterson was tapping his pen against the table, his expression unreadable. Jennifer was already standing at the projector, her smile sharp. "Laura," she said sweetly, "we were just about to start without you." I forced a smile and took my seat. The meeting was a disaster. I stumbled through my pitch, distracted, self-conscious. Every time Mr. Peterson glanced at my coat, I felt smaller. I forgot key statistics. I mixed up slide numbers. I watched my months of work crumble in real time. Jennifer stepped in halfway through, smoothly taking over, and I could see the relief on Mr. Peterson's face. Afterward, my boss pulled me aside. "What happened to you today?" he asked. "You're usually sharper than this." I wanted to explain, but the words stuck in my throat. How could I tell him I'd let a spilled coffee ruin everything? How could I admit that I'd lost control over something so stupid? "I'm sorry," I said. "It won't happen again." He nodded, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. That doubt that creeps in when someone who's always been reliable suddenly isn't. That afternoon, I sat at my desk and stared at the stain. It had dried into a hard, dark blotch, impossible to ignore. I thought about Maria. I thought about the way she'd looked at me, terrified, apologetic. I thought about the way I'd yelled at her, and I felt nothing but anger. She'd cost me this meeting, maybe even my promotion, maybe even my job if I kept spiraling like this. I opened my laptop and started typing an email to building management. "I want to file a complaint about an employee named Maria, who works in cleaning services. This morning, due to her negligence and carelessness, she ruined an expensive item of my clothing and caused me significant professional embarrassment. I expect appropriate disciplinary action to be taken." I got 3 sentences in before I stopped. Something about it felt wrong. Not morally wrong. I was too angry for that. But practically wrong. Like it wouldn't actually make me feel better. Like it would just be one more thing to carry. I deleted the draft and went home early. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at the coat. I tried to work, but I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about that woman's face, the way she'd looked at me, the fear in her eyes. I told myself it didn't matter. She'd made a mistake, and mistakes have consequences. That's how the world works. But I couldn't shake the image of her apologizing, the way her hands had shaken, the way she'd reached for that rag, desperate to fix what she'd broken. The next morning, I saw her again. She was mopping the lobby floor, her head down, her movements slow and careful. I walked past without a word, but I could feel her eyes on me. I told myself I didn't owe her anything. She was the one who'd made the mistake. But over the next few days, I kept seeing her, in the elevator, in the hallway, always with that same tired expression, always avoiding my gaze, and something started to shift inside me. Not guilt, exactly. More like curiosity. Who was she? Why did she look so sad? And why did she seem to flinch every time she saw me? I started noticing other things too. The way she moved through the building like a ghost. The way other people ignored her, walked past her without acknowledgement. The way she seemed to carry an invisible weight that made her shoulders slump. One evening, I stayed late at the office. The building was nearly empty, the lights dimmed. I was packing up my things when I heard a sound. Soft, muffled, crying. I followed it down the hall and found Maria sitting on the floor near the service elevator, her face in her hands. She didn't see me. I stood there for a moment, frozen, unsure whether to leave or stay. Part of me wanted to walk away. This wasn't my problem, but something kept me rooted to the spot. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was guilt, or maybe it was something else entirely. Then she looked up, and our eyes met. Her face was streaked with tears. "I'm sorry," she said again, her voice breaking. "For your coat, It's fine," I said quickly, even though it wasn't. She shook her head. "No, it's not. I know it's not." There was something in her voice, something raw and broken, that made me pause. I sat down beside her, my back against the wall. The floor was cold. The hallway smelled like floor wax and something faintly antiseptic. "Are you okay?" I asked. She laughed bitterly. "No, but that's nothing new." I didn't know what to say. So I just sat there, listening to the hum of the fluorescent lights, the distant sound of traffic outside. After a long moment, she spoke. "I have a daughter," she said. "Elena. She's 23. Smart. Beautiful. She was going to be a teacher. She always loved kids. She used to volunteer at the library, reading to children after school." "Was?" Maria's hands twisted in her lap. "She got sick. Leukemia. 2 years ago. The treatments, they're expensive. My insurance doesn't cover everything. I work 3 jobs now. This one, another cleaning company at night, and weekends at a grocery store. I sleep maybe 4 hours a night, sometimes less." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it. "Me too." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "That morning, in the elevator, I'd just gotten a call from the hospital. They said we're behind on payments again. They said if we don't catch up by the end of the month, they might have to stop her treatment." I wasn't paying attention. I should have been more careful. But all I could think about was my daughter and how I was failing her. I swallowed hard. "You're not failing her." "I am. I can't keep up. I work every hour I can, and it's still not enough. And now I ruined your coat, and I know you have every right to report me. I can't lose this job. I can't. It's the only one with insurance, even if it's terrible insurance. Without it, I'd have nothing." Her voice cracked, and I realized she wasn't just apologizing for the coat. She was begging me not to destroy her life. I thought about the complaint I'd drafted in my head, the email I'd almost sent to building management, the way I'd imagined her getting fired, and how satisfying it would feel. And I felt sick. "I'm not going to report you," I said. She looked at me, disbelieving. "You're not?" "No." "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do that? I ruined something you cared about. You'd be right to be angry." I didn't have a good answer. "Because it was an accident. And because what you're going through is bigger than a coat." She started crying again, harder this time. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much. You don't know what this means." I helped her stand up. She was shorter than I'd realized, barely reaching my shoulder. Her hands were rough, calloused from years of hard work. "Are you going to be okay?" I asked. She nodded, but I didn't believe her. "I have to be," she said. "For Elena." We stood there for a moment, 2 strangers in an empty hallway, and something passed between us. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. I saw myself in her, or the version of myself I could have been if life had gone differently. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about Maria, about her daughter, about the way she'd looked at me, terrified that I'd take away the one thing keeping her family afloat. I thought about my coat, still hanging in my closet, ruined and expensive and utterly meaningless compared to what she was facing. I thought about my own mother. She'd raised me alone after my father left when I was 8. She'd worked 2 jobs to put me through college, cleaning houses during the day, waitressing at night. I remembered her coming home late, exhausted, her hands red and cracked from cleaning chemicals. I remembered being embarrassed by her worn-out clothes, her tired eyes. I remembered wishing she could be more like the other moms, polished, put together, present at every school event. I'd spent my whole adult life trying not to be her, trying to be successful enough, rich enough, put together enough, that I'd never have to struggle like she did. And somewhere along the way, I'd forgotten what it cost her to give me that chance. I'd forgotten the sacrifices she made, the dignity she maintained even when people treated her like she was invisible. The next day, I went to the dry cleaner. The woman behind the counter examined the stain and shook her head. "This won't come out," she said. "Not completely. Coffee on cashmere. It's permanent. The tannins bond with the fibers. I'm sorry." I nodded. I'd expected as much. "How much would a new coat like this cost?" she asked. "About $1,200. She whistled. "That's a lot of coffee." I laughed, but it sounded hollow. I took the coat home and hung it back in my closet. Then I sat down at my computer and opened my bank account. I stared at the balance for a long time. I thought about what $1,200 meant to me. A nice dinner at that new French place. A weekend trip to Miami. A new coat. Something I could replace without thinking twice. Then I thought about what it meant to Maria. Rent, groceries, medicine, one more month of treatment for her daughter. Hope. I transferred $1,500 before I could change my mind. Then I wrote a note. "For Elena's treatment. Please don't argue with me about this. Consider it an apology for yelling at you. You're a good mother. Don't ever doubt that." That evening, I waited in the lobby until I saw Maria pushing her cart toward the elevator. My heart was pounding. I wasn't sure how she'd react. "Maria," I called. She turned, her expression wary. "I need to talk to you," I said. She followed me to a quiet corner, her hands gripping the cart handle like a lifeline. I could see the fear in her eyes, the expectation that I was about to tell her she was fired. "I'm not going to report you," I said again. Her shoulders sagged with relief. "Thank you. Thank you so much. But I want you to have this." I handed her an envelope. She opened it slowly, her hands shaking. When she saw the check inside, her eyes widened. "I can't take this," she said immediately. "It's too much. I can't." "Yes, you can." "No, this is more than the coat cost. I can't accept this." "Maria," I put my hand on hers. "Please, let me do this." She stared at the check, tears streaming down her face. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do this for me? I ruined your coat. I ruined your meeting. You don't even know me." "Because you need it more than I do," I said. "And because someone did something like this for my mother once. When I was a kid, we were about to get evicted. My mom was working 2 jobs, but it still wasn't enough. A stranger, someone whose house she cleaned, paid 3 months of our rent. Anonymous. No strings attached. My mom never forgot it. She told me that story every year on my birthday. She said it taught her that kindness is real, that people can surprise you, that we're all connected in ways we don't always see." Maria pulled me into a hug, and I felt her shoulders shake as she cried. I held her, this stranger who'd spilled coffee on me, and I realized something. The coat didn't matter. The meeting didn't matter. The promotion didn't matter. None of it mattered. What mattered was this moment, this connection, this choice to see someone's humanity and respond to it. "I'll pay you back," she said. "I don't know how long it'll take, but I'll pay you back." "No," I said. "You won't. You'll take care of your daughter. And someday, when you can, you'll help someone else. That's how this works." Over the next few weeks, something shifted in me. I started seeing Maria differently, not as the woman who'd ruined my coat, but as a person, a mother, a fighter, someone who showed up every single day, no matter how hard it was, no matter how tired she was, because someone depended on her. She told me about Elena, her laugh, her dreams, her stubbornness. She showed me pictures. A beautiful young woman with dark hair and bright eyes, sitting in a hospital bed, smiling despite everything, bald from chemotherapy but still radiant. "She's so strong," Maria said one morning as we stood in the elevator together. "Stronger than me. She never complains, never asks why this happened to her. She just keeps fighting." "I don't think that's true," I said, "about you not being strong. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met." Maria worked every day without complaint. She smiled at people who ignored her. She carried the weight of her daughter's illness without breaking. If that wasn't strength, I didn't know what was. I started bringing her coffee in the mornings, not as an apology, but as a gesture, a way of saying, "I see you." She'd smile and thank me, and we'd stand there for a moment, 2 women in an elevator, and it felt like the most normal thing in the world, like we'd known each other forever. One day, she told me Elena's treatments were working. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. The latest scans showed the cancer was responding. "I don't know how to thank you," she said, her eyes filling with tears. "You gave us hope when I didn't think we had any left." "You don't have to thank me," I said. But she did anyway. She brought me homemade empanadas, still warm, wrapped in foil. The smell filled my office for hours. She slipped notes under my office door, little messages of gratitude written in careful handwriting that made me cry. And she reminded me, every single day, that kindness wasn't weakness. It was the only thing that mattered. I started paying attention to the other people in my building. The doorman who always smiled, whose name was Miguel, and who had 3 kids in college. The mailman who knew everyone's name and asked about their families. The security guard who worked double shifts to support his mother's medical bills. I realized I'd been walking past them for years without really seeing them, without understanding that they were people with their own struggles, their own stories, their own worth. My life didn't change overnight. I still worked long hours. I still cared about my career. But something inside me shifted. I started volunteering at a local food bank on Saturday mornings. I donated to Elena's GoFundMe and shared it with everyone I knew. 30 people from my office contributed. We raised over $5,000. I called my mother more often, told her I loved her, thanked her for everything she'd sacrificed. I apologized for being embarrassed by her when I was younger. She cried and told me she understood. She said she was proud of the person I'd become, and I kept that stained coat in my closet, a reminder of the day I almost became someone I didn't want to be. 3 months later, I ran into Maria in the lobby. She was smiling, really smiling, not the tired, polite version she usually wore. Her whole face was different, lighter, younger. "Elena's in remission," she said, her voice trembling with joy. "The doctors said her latest scans are clear. She gets to come home next week." I hugged her, and we both cried, right there in the middle of the lobby, while people rushed past us on their way to meetings and appointments and lives that suddenly seemed so small and insignificant. "Thank you," she said, "for everything, for believing in us, for seeing me when everyone else looked right through me." "You don't have to thank me," I said, but I was grateful too. Grateful that she'd spilled that coffee, grateful that I'd seen her sitting on the floor, crying, grateful that I'd had the chance to do something good, grateful that life had given me this moment, this opportunity, this lesson. I never got my promotion. Jennifer did, and I didn't care. I'd learned something more valuable than a title or a corner office. I'd learned that the people we dismiss, the ones we don't see, are often the ones who teach us the most. I'd learned that success isn't measured in promotions or paychecks. It's measured in the connections we make, the kindness we show, the moments when we choose to see someone's humanity and respond to it. Maria invited me to Elena's welcome home party when she was finally discharged from the hospital. It was held in their small apartment in Queens, crowded with family and friends, and the smell of homemade food. The walls were covered with photos of Elena growing up. Birthdays, graduations, holidays, a life interrupted, but not defeated. Elena hugged me like I was family. She was thin, still recovering, but her eyes were bright and alive. "You saved my mom," she said. "She told me what you did. I don't know how to thank you." "No," I said. "She saved me," and it was true. Before that day in the elevator, I'd been living a half-life. I'd been so focused on climbing, on achieving, on proving myself, that I'd forgotten what really mattered. Maria reminded me. She reminded me that we're all struggling. We're all carrying something. And the least we can do is be kind. I still see Maria every week. We have coffee on Thursday mornings before work. She brings empanadas. I bring stories about my day. We talk about Elena, about life, about the little things that make us laugh. She's become one of my closest friends, one of the most important people in my life. My coat still hangs in my closet. I never got it cleaned. The stain is still there, dark and permanent, a reminder of the day I almost became someone I didn't want to be. Sometimes I take it out and look at it, and I smile, because it's not just a stained coat anymore. It's a memory, a turning point, a reminder that life isn't about perfection. It's about showing up. It's about choosing kindness when it's hard. It's about seeing people, really seeing them. Last month I got a new job. Better pay, better hours, better culture. A company that actually cares about work-life balance. During my interview, They asked me about a time I'd faced a difficult situation and how I handled it. I told them about the coat, about Maria, about what I'd learned, about how a moment of anger became a moment of grace. The interviewer nodded, her eyes bright. "That's exactly the kind of person we want on our team," she said. "We need people who understand that success isn't just about the bottom line. It's about how we treat each other." I start next week, and I'm bringing Maria and Elena to celebrate. We're going to that French place I used to dream about, the one where I was going to spend my $1,200 on myself. Instead, I'm spending it on people who matter, on friendship, on gratitude, on love, because some stains are worth keeping, some accidents change everything, and some people come into our lives at exactly the right moment, even if we don't realize it at the time. Elena is back in school now, finishing her teaching degree. She volunteers at the Children's Hospital, reading to kids going through treatment, giving them the hope that someone once gave her. Maria still works 3 jobs, but she's saving up. She wants to cut back, spend more time with her daughter. I'm helping her with that. And me? I'm different now. I see people. I ask the doorman about his kids. I thank the security guard by name. I smile at the cleaning staff, ask them how they're doing, and mean it. I've learned that everyone has a story. Everyone is carrying something, and we have no idea what battles people are fighting behind their tired smiles and polite nods. My mom came to visit last month. I showed her the coat. I told her the whole story. She cried and held me and said, "I'm so proud of you. You finally understand." "Understand what?" I asked. "That the measure of a person isn't what they achieve. It's who they become along the way." If this story touched you, I hope you'll share it with someone who needs to remember that kindness exists in the smallest moments, that the people we overlook are often the ones who change us, that a stained coat can mean more than a perfect one ever could, that we all have the power to make someone's life better if we just choose to see them, if we just choose to care. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're just getting started here, and every day we're sharing stories that remind us what it means to be human. Stories about second chances, hidden kindness, and the moments that change us forever. Stories about people like Maria, like Elena, like all of us when we're brave enough to be vulnerable and kind. Some stories deserve to be heard, some stains are worth keeping, and some strangers become the most important people in our lives. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And remember, the next time someone spills coffee on you, take a breath, look at them, really look, because you never know what they're carrying. You never know how much your kindness might mean. You never know how one small choice, one moment of grace instead of anger, can change everything. Not just for them, for you too. Because in the end, we're all just people trying to get through the day. We're all just doing our best with what we have. And sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can save someone's life, or wake up your own. That coat taught me more than any business school ever could. It taught me that perfection is a myth, that appearances don't matter, that what really counts is how we treat the people nobody else sees, the people society has trained us to look past, the invisible ones who keep our world running while we're too busy climbing ladders to notice. I still think about that morning sometimes. What would have happened if I'd sent that email? If I'd gotten Maria fired? If I'd let my anger win? I would have destroyed her life, and I would have missed out on knowing one of the most extraordinary people I've ever met. Life is funny that way. The moments that seem like disasters often turn out to be gifts. The people who seem like obstacles often turn out to be teachers. And the things we think matter most, the coats, the promotions, the perfect appearances, often matter the least. What matters is this: did you see someone today? Did you help someone? Did you choose kindness when you could have chosen anger? That's the only question that really counts. So here's to the stained coats, to the spilled coffees, to the moments that wake us up and remind us we're human, to the Marias of the world who show up every day with grace and strength we can barely comprehend, and to the second chances we give ourselves when we choose to be better. Thank you for being part of this journey. Thank you for listening to this story. And thank you for every small kindness you show in your own life, to people who might desperately need it, even if they never tell you. You never know. You might be saving someone's life. You might be saving your own.